Remember, the 5th of November. Guy Fawkes has become a hero of the left in the last decade. His visage has been seen on the streets of Cairo to the streets of London and across the web as a symbol of anonymous. But who is this historical figure whose goateed smile has become so familiar to us as a symbol of anarchy? We'll answer that question and more on this inaugural episode of Rob Explains Everything. Guy Fawkes is known to us today because of the part he played in the gunpowder treason plot of 1605. The plan to detonate 36 barrels of gunpowder under the Palace of Westminster on the opening ceremony of Parliament, killing the King and as many members of the House as possible. This act of rebellion is the basis of the modern opinion of Guy Fawkes by anarchists, Antifa, and protesters around the world. But is that justified? Let's talk a little bit about Mr. Fawkes. Guy Fawkes was born in 1570 in Stonegate, York. His father died when Fawkes was 8 years old, after which his mother remarried a recusant Catholic. Guy's mother's family were also recusant Catholics. At that time in England, people couldn't actively participate in the Catholic faith. Guy Fawkes was, or at least became in his formative years, a Catholic. He hated the Anglican religion and the royal family that forced him to hide his Catholicism. In October 1591, he fought in the 8 Years' War on the continent, on the side of the Catholic Spain, against the Protestant Dutch reformers. After the war, he returned to England, but he grew increasingly discontent at the state of the government and of the crown. In 1603, he traveled to Spain to seek support for a Catholic rebellion in England, but without success. In his Memorandum of Rebellion, he described James I as a heretic who intended to have all the papist sect driven out of England. In 1604, he met Robert Catesby, who was already in the planning stages of a plot to assassinate King James I and replace him with his daughter, third in the line of succession, Princess Elizabeth, restoring a Catholic monarch to the throne. The first meeting of the 5 central conspirators of the gunpowder plot took place on May the 20th, 1604, at an inn called the Drake and the Duck. By December 1604, the plotters had leased an undercroft beneath the House of Lords. Unused and filthy, it was the ideal hiding place for the gunpowder the plotters planned to store there. In May 1605, 20 barrels of gunpowder were brought in, followed by 16 more on the 20th of July. By the 28th of July, however, the ever-present threat of plague delayed the opening of Parliament until November the 5th. Fawkes' final role in the plot was settled in a series of meetings in October of that year. He was to light the fuse and then escape across the Thames. But a few of the conspirators were concerned about fellow Catholics who would be present at the opening of Parliament. On the evening of 26th of October, Lord Monteagle received an anonymous letter warning him to stay away from the opening of Parliament. Despite quickly becoming aware of the letter, informed by one of Monteagle's servants, the conspirators resolved to continue with their plans, as it appeared that it was clearly thought to be a hoax. But the letter was shown to King James. Prompted by the receipt of that letter, the king ordered a search of all of the areas below the House of Parliament, and that was done in the early morning hours of November the 5th. Fawkes had taken up his position the previous night, armed only with a slow match and a watch. He was found leaving the cellar shortly after midnight and arrested. Over the next few days, Fawkes was questioned and tortured, and he eventually confessed. And the Lord Chief Justice, Sir John Popham, found him guilty of high treason. The Attorney General, Sir Edward Coke, told the court that each of the condemned would be drawn backwards to his death by a horse. Their genitals would be cut off and burnt before their very eyes. Then their bowels removed and their hearts removed. Then they would be decapitated, dismembered, and parts of their bodies would be displayed so they become prey for fowl of the air. Immediately before his execution on the 31st of January, Fawkes fell from the scaffold, breaking his neck, avoiding that horrible fate. On the 5th of November, 1605, Londoners were encouraged to celebrate the king's escape from assassination by lighting bonfires. An act of Parliament designated each November the 5th as a day of thanksgiving for the joyful day of deliverance, and that remained in force until 1859. Although he was only one of the 13 conspirators, Fawkes is today the individual most associated with the failed plot. Though, as historian William Robison of Southeastern Louisiana University argues, Fawkes was just one of the flunkies. It really should be Robert Catesby Day. The author, Antonia Fraser, describes Fawkes as a tall, powerfully built man with a thick, reddish-brown hair and a flowing mustache, in the tradition of the day. And that he was a man of action, capable of intelligent argument as well as physical endurance, somewhat to the surprise of his enemies. Guy Fawkes is still to this day sometimes toasted as the last man to enter Parliament with honest intentions. According to historian Lewis Call, Fawkes is now a major icon in political culture, whose face has become a potentially powerful instrument for the articulation of postmodern anarchism. A stylized portrayal of a face with oversized cheeks and a wide mustache, upturned at both ends, with a thin, vertical beard, designed by illustrator David Lloyd, came to represent broader protest after it was used as a major plot element in V for Vendetta, first published in 1982, and then later a 2006 film adaptation. Since the release of the film, the use of the Guy Fawkes mask has become widespread internationally among anti-establishment protest groups. After appearing in internet forums, the mask became a well-known symbol for the online hacktivist group Anonymous. Used in Project Chinology, it was later adopted by the Occupy movement and other anti-government and anti-establishment protests all around the world. It became internationally known as a symbol of popular rebellion. According to Time, in 2011, the protesters' adoption of the mask had led it to become the top-selling mask on Amazon, selling hundreds of thousands of masks a year. Time Warner, one of the largest media companies in the world, owns the rights to the mask. And every time a mask is sold, they get a portion of that sale. So what can we take from this? Well, symbolism is important. And as William Robeson points out, each generation can redefine the meaning of those symbols to fit their own needs. V for Vendetta made Guy Fawkes, or at least his mask, a symbol of anarchy and of revolution. Perhaps that's all that matters. But I wonder, how many of those leftist protesters know the mask they wear when protesting big government is the face of a Catholic revolutionary who sought to put a Catholic monarch back on the throne and bring Catholicism back in as the most powerful religion in England, not the face of an anarchist revolutionary. Either way, the next time someone brings up Guy Fawkes, you'll have everything you need to be part of that conversation. I hope you've enjoyed this inaugural episode of Rob Explains Everything. If you'd like to support more videos, you can do that at patreon.com/RobertNChi. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to get the latest updates. And make sure you share it so that your friends can be as smart as you are. Until next time, this is Rob. Thanks for watching. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Guy Fawkes, 'twas his intent to blow up the king and parliament. 70 barrels of powder below, poor old England to overthrow. By God's providence he was catched, with a dark lantern and burning match, a traitor to the crown by his action. No parliament mercy from any faction. His just end shouldn't be grim. What should we do? Burn him! Holler boys, let the bell ring. Holler boys, God save the king.